full-on moron on CNN last night. He was just pushing riots. I mean, openly pushing riots, suggesting that rioting and looting are just like the Boston Tea Party. Okay, there are a few distinctions with regard to the Boston Tea Party. Distinction number one, the Boston Tea Party was directed against the East India Tea Company, a monopoly granted by the British government so that they could gain money off the backs of American taxpayers who did not have the ability to vote in the British Parliament. Okay, so historically speaking, what he is talking about is nonsense. Two, that was an act of insurrection. So if what you're talking about is that the riots and the looting are actually acts of insurrection and that the federal government has every force at its disposal to stop acts of insurrection, I suppose that you're correct. The British government attempted to. The difference is that the British regime was wrong. I'm wondering exactly how it is wrong to shut down rioting and looting. And again, at least the Boston Tea Party was targeting a monopoly granted by the British government. I'm not sure what robbing a Target has to do with police brutality. Chris Cuomo, you stupid ass. Here's Chris Cuomo, block of wood.
Doesn't make it okay to riot, says the majority. But doesn't it depend why it's happening? A riot in Boston Harbor started the fight that amounted to America. Cities burned across the continent in 1968, again at Stonewall. In each of those cases, it was the minority manifesting a desperate plea to be heard and for change, just like now. A friend of mine, celebrated American and African American, asked me in a broken voice, why doesn't America love us? Why do they do this to us?
Do what? Do what? Like, what is he talking about? Seriously, what is he talking about? Is the impression that Americans are willy-nilly going out and killing black people? Apparently that's the actual impression. Not kidding. Apparently that's the actual impression. So there's a picture that was going around the internet yesterday from Beverly Hills on Sunset Boulevard. A black man had set up a series of nooses, and he is dressed in sort of jean cutoffs so that he's obviously attempting to look like a black slave or being hanged, literally hanged to death on Sunset Boulevard with a giant sign that said 1619 to 2020. Okay, this is just bullshit. I'm sorry, it's just bullshit. Like the idea that 1619 to 2020, there's been no progression at all. I can think of a few things that are different between 1619 and 2020. Number one, that blacks are now free and American citizens with full rights as they always should have been. The most unjust act in American history was slavery. Second most unjust act was Jim Crow. This guy is in the middle of Sunset Boulevard exercising his First Amendment rights under the Constitution of the United States, and no one is bothering him. That is not the same thing as 1965, let alone 1865. This notion being pushed by the media that nothing has changed in 400 years is explicitly a notion directed at the heart and soul of the United States. We are an evil country and we ought to be torn out by the roots. Bernie Sanders was doing this yesterday. So Bernie Sanders tweeted out, he has not condemned any of the rioting or the looting, of course, because America's evil. Right? This is the Bernie Sanders perspective. He tweeted out yesterday, the richest 400 Americans sit on $3 trillion, the size of the entire UK economy. The billionaire class now pays a lower tax rate than people living paycheck to paycheck. The looting of America has been going on for over 40 years, and the culprits are the ultra-rich. So he says nothing about actual physical looting, but if you run a business, you're a looter. And it's been going on for 40 years. For 40 years, America is being looted by the rich. And nothing to say about riots happening in the streets where people are looting businesses. Nothing to say about that at all.